What's going on, guys? Today, this video is all about colubrids. That's right, I absolutely love colubrids, from corn snakes to cow kings, western hognose snakes, and so much more. So I'm going to dive in and just show you guys some of the colubrids here, talk a little bit about some of them and some of the projects I have going on. So let's get started. So we're jumping in talking about corn snakes right off the bat. This is actually a palmetto corn snake. Palmettos are probably one of the most recognizable corn snakes these days. Of course, we're talking about essentially paradoxing leucism. So we have an all-white snake, often with bluish eyes or grayish, bluish-gray eyes, and then we have all these awesome spots. One of my favorite things with palmetto is when you start plugging in things like albino or blood red or anery, we actually start to change the color of the spots. And while unfortunately we can't dictate the pattern, we can still get snakes with really cool speckling on them. Of course, caramel, you get yellows and grays. At albino, you make it a butter and you get bright yellow spots, etc., etc. So many awesome options with the palmetto corn snake. Some people like just the regular palmetto corn. You get these awesome grays and oranges and yellows. You get some really interesting looks with the spots as well. Like I said, we can't dictate the pattern of them, but still just a really cool animal. And I mean, come on, how can you not love a corn snake that's just speckled, kind of like funfetti? One of the other corn snake projects that I'm really excited about is the scaleless project. I've been really intrigued by the scaleless gene, and while it's not necessarily the greatest when it comes to ball pythons, the scaleless colubrids do really well. This year we've also seen scaleless California kingsnakes, which is really interesting as well. The scaleless animals are so interesting. It really does look interesting when you kind of remove the scalation and you have almost this tattooed like appearance on the snake. We've got a few different ones here. This is a caramel scaleless. I also have some anery scaleless and some normal scaleless, also some albino scaleless stuff. And I'm also working with some double het palmetto scaleless, which I'm really intrigued by, because those animals, if you take like a Sharpie and you poke it onto a paper towel and the kind of ink just kind of bleeds in a little bit, that's kind of like what the scaleless palmetto actually looks like, and that's a really interesting look to me. So I'm super excited about that. These scaleless animals are just wild. Sidestepping from corn snakes, we actually move into some Pituophis stuff. I absolutely love Pituophis. They definitely have awesome brains. This is actually a Cape Baja gopher snake, or Pituophis cantifer vertebralis. This is definitely a less common species, although maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I actually had a trio and you could find these guys almost everywhere, and then people just stopped working with them. Fast forward to more recent years and it was almost impossible to find them. So I had gotten this girl and was like, I'll find a male at some point, but let's raise her up. And maybe a year and a half later, I found a male. So I've got a pair that I'm raising up here. This is my female. She's about 40 inches long right now, and it's just absolutely spectacular. This is what this snake looks like, and that's absolutely wild. These insane reds and blacks and yellows. This is such a spectacular snake. Definitely one of my favorite Pituophis species. Again, super uncommon these days. A smaller growing Pituophis, but absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to start breeding these guys and produce some of my own. Sticking with the Pituophis right now, this is definitely one of my all-time favorites. This is actually my North Mexican pine snake, or Pituophis depi-jani, and these guys are absolutely wonderful. This girl has a really wild pattern, and Rob always gives me a hard time because I never show her off enough, so I made sure to put her in this video. But these guys are super cool. When they're first born, they're actually very drab brown colored snake, and it's all about camouflage, right? When you're only about 8 to 12 inches long, you're pretty much a prey item for almost every predator out there. But as they start to mature, they go through this insane color change. We start to get these bright orange heads, really yellow body, and black and red saddles, excuse me. And this girl just has this really crazy aberrant appearance to her, like an extreme motley, which is absolutely awesome. But what a wild snake. These guys can actually get upwards of 6 feet long. It can be quite thick. My male is more normal in coloration and pattern, so I'm going to grab him to show you guys what they traditionally look like. Of course, I want to show this guy off and he's in shed, but I figured I would still take him out so you could see these much more consistent, big, blotchy saddles down the back. That's really what you can expect with these guys. and definitely a really impressive colubrid species for sure. Again, these guys can get pretty large, and he's absolutely stunning. So I can't do a colubrid video and not talk about Texas rat snakes, right? I don't have very many of these. I just have a reverse trio. It's basically, you know, of course, like corn snake on steroids. These are cousins to the corn snake. But what an absolutely stunning snake. And to the untrained eye, they kind of just look like a brownish black snake. But when you get really up close, you'll actually start to see these awesome oranges and reds. Just really unique coloration on these guys. The scaleless female that I have is bright red. We're going to take a look at her in a second, and is really just a stunning snake. But these guys can get quite large. This male's probably pushing about 5, maybe 5.5 feet long. And of course, as the name would suggest, they can definitely take down a rat. As mentioned, this is my female Texas rat snake, and obviously she's a scaleless animal. And it's something that's really interesting with the scaleless colubrids is they're not 100% scaleless. So of course we all know that they have belly scales, but they'll actually start to get some scales along their back and sides, which is really interesting look. But what a really cool looking snake. She almost kind of has like a Joker look to her, which is really interesting. But definitely a favorite colubrid species of mine, especially when you get to see these deep, rich reds that are oftentimes hidden beneath the scales of the animal. So it's kind of cool when you get to peel that back, so to speak, and see some of the natural beauty that exists with this species that we would normally not see. Okay, talking about another species of snake that has had my attention for a long time. This is actually a Honduran milk snake. This is actually a snow Honduran milk snake. So the combination, of course, of albino and anery. And this one's actually quite colorful. We got a lot of pinks and yellows that are popping through on this animal. But this is one of the largest species of milk snakes in the world. Large ones actually have the ability to reach of lengths close to 7 feet long, which is wild. And I've definitely seen some big ones over the years, and it's really impressive. This guy's absolutely awesome. He's pushing about 4.5 feet or so, and he's absolutely sweet. My female tricolor albino, of course, is in shed. Otherwise, I'd be showing her off because her contrast is wild, but definitely one of my favorite milk snake species, and I was happy to be able to produce some this year. Next up on the milk snake train is actually the Pueblan milk snake. Definitely a smaller milk snake species with females reaching of about 30 to 32 inches long for a really large one. Of course, we have the classic red, black, and white. We also have this apricot look, which gives, instead of the white banding, we get this more of like apricot orangey brown, which is a really cool look too. This is absolutely a spectacular female. I love these guys for a multitude of reasons. This was actually one of the first lamprepeltids I ever kept when I was a kid, and they're just a really fun snake. They're a little squirrely than some of the other lamprepeltis species, but once they settle down and kind of feel a bit more secure in the hand, they're really inquisitive. Definitely one of my favorites. And I've got a handful here, including some albino stuff and some really interesting aberrant animals as well. So this is actually an albino Pueblan milk snake, and these guys are so cool and is absolutely wonderful. These great kind of apricot colors bleeding into albinism. Looks really interesting, and I'm so stoked. We produced a bunch of hets this year, and we'll definitely be raising some up to produce some more albinos in the future. These guys are just so cool. Okay guys, another classic colubrid species here. This is actually a Mexican black king snake. Definitely a favorite colubrid of mine. Of course, as the name would suggest, they're both from Mexico, and they're a black king snake. So these guys are jet black, although occasionally, especially when young, you can sometimes see a little bit of pattern bleeding through with some either white or yellow scalation. But as adults, they are just a jet black snake. And I mean, how can you not love that? That is so freaking cool. And they definitely have a bit of a brain, although my females right now are more concerned with eating than anything else, and I don't feel like getting bitten, which is why I'm not highlighting them. But this is the same one that made the appearance in the outro of the last video. This is Midnight, and he is my male Mexican black king. I've got a trio here. They're just absolutely spectacular snakes. I can see why they've been popular for so long. A nice, decent-sized colubrid species, great feeding animal, and when they're not not focused on food, they can actually be wonderful pets. You can handle them without much issue, and they're just a really great inquisitive little snake. Okay, another awesome king snake species here, and this was actually my first year producing these guys, and I was super stoked about it. This is actually a San Luis Potosi king snake, or Mex-Mex. These guys are super, super cool. This is one of my granite females. I have a group of 2.3, and I absolutely love them. This is, again, a granite phase. Normally, they just have big red blotches. The granites get this kind of interesting black coloration, and then we reduce the size of the red splotches down the back. I'll show you guys a normal one in a second that's just got those big red blotches, but definitely a cute little colubrid. They're a little on the smaller side, between 28 to 30 inches long, sometimes a little bit bigger, but an absolutely spectacular snake, and definitely one of my favorites. A really awesome looking snake. I definitely like the contrast of gray, black, and red, and what an awesome inquisitive little snake. Definitely a cool animal if you want a neat, uncommon pet king snake. Mex-Mex are definitely it. So here's a more traditional look to the Mex-Mex. This is just one of my normal males. He's got a lot of awesome red contrast and big, bold saddles that I absolutely love. So definitely a really unique looking snake. Again, I love that contrast of the red and gray. It's just absolutely epic. So again, if you're interested in something like a king snake that isn't necessarily quite as food driven as a Mexican black king or even a cow king, and has some really unique coloration, Mex-Mex are definitely a cool way to go. And although uncommon in the pet world, they're actually pretty commonly bred, so you can find them without too much issue. And again, a snake that looks like this is pretty freaking sweet. Okay guys, of course I have to have some western hognose snakes here. This is actually an Arctic anaconda het albino male. I've got a handful of hognoses that I've been raising up just for a fun project. I'm not super heavy into them, but I do have a couple of pairs just because how can you not love these cute little guys? They are such a popular pet species, and for good reason. A really manageable size, great attitude, and just a cute face. I mean, again, look at that. How can you not like that little face? I absolutely love hognose snakes. Definitely another species that I've worked with for many years, and I'm so excited to have a group that I'm raising up, and excited about some of the possibilities with some of these animals that I've got for some stuff like the Sunburst project and some snow stuff. So I'm really excited about what the future is here for BMR with hogs. Like I said, not a huge group, but definitely a fun little group of things to play with. Okay guys, last but certainly not least, the California king snake. This is one of my mosaic females here, and I absolutely love this species. I've worked with Cal Kings since I was a teenager. They're such a fun snake. Now, I've made it this entire video without getting bitten by anything, and that might change here in the last couple of seconds here, but what an absolutely stunning snake. The contrast between black and white is so hard to beat, and this animal is just absolutely stunning. I had to show at least one Cal King off, although I do have an awesome group of high white animals that I've been raising up and have been breeding. A classic pet colubrid, and I mean, how can you not love these guys? Definitely pretty food driven, but you know, again, a wonderful species of snake, and if you can get them kind of out of the food mode, they become really cool pets. This girl's ready for her close-up, trying to figure out what is going on with this phone. Maybe it's food. If she tries to bite the phone, as long as it's not me, I'm okay with that. But how cool is that? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed checking out some of the colubrids here at BMR. Of course, you can always go to brassmanreptiles.com to check out what's available, including things like Cal Kings and more. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, make sure you like and comment on this video. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.